Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening to everyone. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled, said Plutarch. Dr. Mrs. YGP was a great teacher who could inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning, and her influence extends beyond the classroom and transcends time. I am SESHADRI, Internal Cultural Secretary, PSBB Nungambakam, and I welcome you to day 24 of our YouTube channel PSBB Vidya Shakti. PADMA SESHADRI BALA BHAVAN has a proud tradition of cultural programs inspired and patronized by Dr. Mrs. YGP, and there can be no greater tribute to our beloved founder than to showcase the talents of our students. Her passion for music and art has been inculcated into the very fabric of the schools, creating a varied holistic atmosphere that nurtures and enhances both emotional and spiritual growth.
Vidya Shakti. Medha Shakti, Kalashaya Shakti.
Vidya Shakti.
Men may come and men may go, but PSBB will go on forever.
Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar in his Pudumai pen celebrates the fearless woman, a proud possessor of wisdom born out of conviction, and who does not falter despite facing derision and challenges. There can be no better example of such a Pudumai pen than our beloved Mrs. YGP. Our proud alumni, Archana and Arati, are here to render Bharatiya's verses, Pudumai pen, set to tune by Vidwan Sri R.K. Sri Ram Kumar.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We, Archana and Arati, are very happy to be presenting this musical tribute to our very own beloved Mrs. YGP ma'am. Bharatiyar was much ahead of his times and stressed upon the need to empower women. His imagery of an ideal woman has been portrayed very well in his poem Pudumai Pen. And we think this will be a very fitting tribute to Mrs. YGP ma'am, as she has been a role model not only for us, for other women and for everybody else who have pursued the path of selfless service to humanity. We will be presenting the Pudumai Pen, 4 paras of the Pudumai Pen, which has been very beautifully tuned by another alumnus of our school and a very favorite student of Mrs. YGP ma'am, Vidwan Sri R.K. Sri Ram Kumar, in the ragas Hamir Kalyani, Hamsadwani, Madhumanti and Desh.
போற்றி போற்றி ஓராயிரம் போற்றி நின் பொன்னடிக்கு பல்லாயிரம் போற்றி 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 ஓராயிரம் போற்றி நின் பொன்னடிக்கு பல்லாயிரம் போற்றி காண் சேற்றிலே புதிதாக முளைத்ததோஷிய தாமரை தேமலர் போலொளி போற்றி போற்றி ஓராயிரம் போற்றி நின் பொன்னடிக்கு பல்லாயிரம் போற்றி காண் சேற்றிலே புதிதாக முளைத்ததோர் செய்ய தாமரை தேமலர் போலொளி தோற்றி நின்றனி பாரத நாட்டிலே துன்பைக்கும் சுதந்திரவேரிகை சாற்றி வந்தனை மாதர சேயங்கள் ஜாதி செய்த தவ பயல்வாழினி எங்கள் ஜாதி செய்த தவ பயன்வாழினி நிமிர்ந்த நன்னடை நேர்கொண்ட பார்வையும் நீலத்தில் யாருக்கும் அஞ்சாத நெறிகளும் திமிர்ந்த ஞான செருக்குமிருப்பத செம்மை மாதர் திரும்புவதில்லையாம் நிமிர்ந்த நன்னடை நேர்கொண்ட பார்வையும் நீலத்தில் யாருக்கும் அஞ்சாத நெறிகளும் திமிர்ந்த ஞான செருக்குமிருப்பத செம்மை மாத திரும்புவதில்லையாம் அவள் பேரிரோளாமறியாமையில் அவளமைதே கலையின்றி வாழ்வதை உமிழ்ந்து தள்ளுதல் பெண்ணரமாகுமாம் உதய கண்ணி உரைப்பது கேட்டிரோ உதய கண்ணி உரைப்பது கேட்டிரோ ஆணும் பெண்ணும் நீகிரன கொள்வதால் அறிவிலோங்கியுவையன் தழை குமாம் போடு நல்லற தோடிங்கு பெண்ணோரு போது நேர்ப்பது தாய் சிவசக்தியம் ஆணும் பெண்ணும் நீகிரன கொள்வதால் அறிவிலோங்கியுவையன் தழை குமாம் போடு நல்லற தோடிங்கு பெண்ணோரு போது நேர்ப்பது தாய் சிவசக்தியம் நானும் அச்சமும் நாய்க்கு வேணுமாம் ஞானம் வீர சுதந்திரம் வேடுனர் குடி பெண்ணின் குணங்களாம் பெண்மை தெய்வத்தின் பேச்சுகள் கேட்டிரோ நானும் அச்சமும் நாய்க்கு வேணுமாம் ஞானம் வீர சுதந்திரம் வேடுனர் குடி பெண்ணின் குணங்களாம் பெண்மை தெய்வத்தின் பேச்சுகள் கேட்டீரோ போற்றி போற்றி ஜெய ஜெய போற்றி 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 ஜெய ஜெய போற்றி புதுமை பெண்ணொளி வாழி பல்லாண்டிங்கே மாற்றி வையும் புதுமை உறச் செய்து மனிதர் தம்மை அமரர்களாக்கவே போற்றி போற்றி ஜெய ஜெய போற்றி புதுமை பெண்ணொளி வாழி பல்லாண்டிங்கே மாற்றி வையம் புதுமை உறச் செய்து மனிதர் தம்மை அமரர்களாக்கவே ஆற்றல் கொண்ட பராசக்தி அன்னை தலரோளினால் ஒரு கன்னிகையாகிய தேற்றி உண்மைகள் கூறிட வந்திட்டாள் செல்வம் யாவினும் ஏர் செல்வம் எய்தினும் செல்வம் யாவினும் ஏர் செல்வம் எய்தி
her visits abroad, Mrs. YGP spent her time learning transcendental meditation at the University of Iowa. And she did not stop just by learning it. She made it a point to implement it in the school. PSBB was one of the earliest schools to bring yoga and meditation into the curriculum, and the tradition of beginning the day with meditation still continues. Shivashankar from Standard 9 of PSBB Nungambakam will now demonstrate some of the important asanas of yoga and their benefits.
ॐ योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। ॐ मित्राय नमः रवये नमः सूर्याय नमः भानवे नमः खगाय नमः पूष्णे नमः हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः मरीचये नमः आदित्याय नमः सवित्रे नमः अर्काय नमः भास्कराय नमः। शांति शांति शांति।
Art is to express, not to impress. Shreya Devnath, a disciple of Sri Lalgudi Ji Jayaraman, is an extremely accomplished young solo concert violinist and an alumna of PSBB Nungambakam. She will now honor her alma mater with a personal and meaningful tribute to Dr. Mrs. YGP.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I'm Shreya Devnath, student of PSBB Nungambakam. I graduated in the year 2007-2008. When my teachers Vasanti ma'am and Chandraramni ma'am asked, if I would play a little bit of music as a tribute to YGP ma'am, I just asked Chandra ma'am, what do you think I should play? And she said, I leave it to you. You can think about it in two ways. One, what Mrs. YGP represented to you. How, if you had to play a piece of music that, symbolized Mrs. YGP to you, what would you pick? The other thing she said was, of course, pieces of music that YGP ma'am enjoyed very much herself. And I said, okay, I'll think about the first one.
Can you tell me a few pieces of music that YGP ma'am loved to listen to? And one of the things Chandra ma'am said to me at that time was that she loved listening to the Madhuramani notes. And that got me thinking, the idea of the Notiswaram itself. And then that led me to what actually Mrs. YGP symbolizes to me. So what I'm going to play in this video is, you can think of it as an Irish tune. This tune was, I think, first recorded around the 1700s in London. It's called The Rakes of Mallow. It was imagined to be about the fashionable young men of the time in the fictional county of Mallow, Ireland. Now this was one of the tunes that the British marching bands brought to India, and one of the people who happened to hear this tune either being practiced or performed by these marching bands was Muthuswami Dikshithar, one of our revered composers, part of the trinity of Carnatic music. Now the beautiful thing about all music, I suppose, perhaps a little bit more so instrumental music, is that it can mean something different to every person who listens to it. To one person, this tune was, about young people having a good time, and to me, it brings to mind different things every time I play it, and I'm sure for each of us who's listening to it, it brings to mind different pictures, different memories, just different things to mind. To Dikshithar, it brought to his mind his favorite Madurai Meenakshi. And so now we have, as part of the Carnatic repertoire, Dikshithar's Notiswaram, Bande Meenakshi. As I thought about this, it occurred to me that this is probably one of the things that brings to my mind Mrs. YGP the most. The capacity, the ability to imagine something to be different from what is presented to us as ground reality. It needn't necessarily be better or worse, but just to think beyond, to dream differently, and to have the drive, the confidence, the courage, the conviction to materialize that as well. And that is what Mrs. YGP means to me. I have been awed by everything that I've heard and read about her life, and so I thought I would dedicate this little piece, Bande Meenakshi, to that power of imagination, courage of conviction, to be just as brilliant, imaginative, daring and strong as she was. Bande Meenakshi.
Kunnakol is the art of performing percussion syllables vocally in South Indian Carnatic music. It is the spoken component of Sulkattu, which refers to a combination of Kunnakol syllables spoken simultaneously while counting the thala, meter with the hand. Students of Nungambakam will perform Kunnakol incorporating select couplets of Thirukural, the immortal work of Saint Thiruvalluvar. Chennai enjoys the pride of being the birthplace of this revered saint. Mrs. YGP, as an iconic educator, created the historic school, and we are proud neighbours of the cultural and important architectural landmark Valluvar Kotam, constructed as a tribute to the legendary poet Thiruvalluvar. Let's enjoy the magic of Kunnakol and Thirukural.
Ta kita kita ta kata kata di kita taka. Ta kita ta kata kata di kita taka ta tum kita ta kata kata di kita taka. Tam ta kena tu tum kata kata di kita taka ta taka ta tum kita taka tam taka ta tum kita ta kata kata di kita taka. ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலகு தக்கிட்ட திக்கிட்ட ததின் தத்தாம் தாங்கு தத்தின் ததின் தத்தக்க அகர முதல எழுத்தெல்லாம் ஆதி பகவன் முதற்றே உலகு தின் நம் தின் கத்து நம் தின் கத்து நம் தின் கத்து நம் கதின் நம் தின் கத்து நம் தின் தா நம் கிடதுக்கு டத்தி நம் கிடதுக்கு தொங்க நம் கிடதுக்கு டத்தி தா தத் தின் தக்க தின தாங்கு தத் தீங்கு தத் நம்க ததின் தத்தக்க தக்க சடர கற்பவை கற்றபின் நிற்க அதற்கு தக தத் தின் தக்க தின தாங்கு தத் தீங்கு தத் நம்க ததின் தத்தக்க கற்க சடர கற்பவை கற்றபின் நிற்க அதற்கு தக தாம் கத்தக்க தின தக்கிட்ட தக்க தின தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தா தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தா தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தாம் தக்க தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தாம் தக்க தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தக்க தரிகிடுக்கு தா.
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and these esteemed alumni took their first steps towards their futures in PSBB under the guiding hand of Dr. Mrs. YGP. Let's now listen to our esteemed alumni from the fields of ELSI Nadagam. Mr. S. Shivaprasad from the field of theatre, batch of 1978 Nungambakam. Mr. Abhishek Raghuram from the field of Carnatic music, batch of 2003 Nungambakam. Mrs. Sudharma Vaidyanathan, renowned Bharatanatyam dancer, PSBP Nungambakam, batch of 2012. Mr. Venkatesh Srinivasan, CEO and co-founder Nexus Consulting, a renowned biz master, PSBB KK Nagar, batch of 1995.
Myself, S. Shivaprasad, is continuing to be successful as a filmmaker, as a dramatist, and as a journalist, all because of the strong foundation given by our big miss, Dr. Mrs. Y.G. Parthasarathhy by giving me ample opportunities to enact on stage during our Friday assemblies, school anniversaries, All India Radio programs and for Chennai Doordarshan Kendra that enabled me to give spot interviews for All India Radio and produce TV serials like Naragasuran for Chennai Doordarshan Kendra. After presiding over the premiere show of my Malayalam feature film, The Salute, produced as a post-Kargil war film and dedicated to the martyrs and their bereaved families, Mrs. YB said, irrespective of her age, she wanted to join the defense forces. After seeing my short film Thudipu, that was shot on a National Bravery Awardee, Master P. Thirumalai, who rescued an accident victim from under the wheels of an MTC bus as a king of the golden hour, and my documentaries like Eradication of Poverty, Mrs. YGP said she was very proud of me as a PSBBM. After seeing my stage plays like Manasachi and Chanakya Sabadam, Mrs. YGP said she was seeing Mr. R.S. Manohar growing in me. She was a pillar of support for me, both in my joys as well as sorrows, especially when I lost my father, Mr. R.S. Srinivasan, and my uncle, Mr. R.S. Manohar. During our school days, Mrs. YGP used to periodically take us to meet Kanchi Sankaracharyas that enabled me to produce recently a 2-hour documentary film on Kanchi Paramacharya titled Jagadguru Kanchi Mamuni on 7th August 2019. After bidding a tearful salute to the mortal remains of Mrs. YGP that left on her last journey at 4 p.m. from YGP Auditorium, that very same evening, I received the roll of honor for my contribution to Tamil stage during the Golden Jubilee celebrations of Mylapore Academy. With moist eyes, I received the award and dedicated it in memory of Mrs. YGP. Last but not the least, on 25th August 2019, myself and my daughter Shruti, who had enacted in the Dad and I program during PSBB's Golden Jubilee celebrations, reenacted the Tamil stage play Manasachi at YGP Auditorium as a fitting tribute for Mrs. YGP, organized by Bharat Kalachar, wherein parents, teachers and PSBBNs assembled in full strength. Shri Guru Namaha.
For me, when I think about Mrs. YGP ma'am, the first thing that comes to my mind is charisma. The amazing thing is that she had that till the very end of her life. She lived life the fullest. I even remember when I was in PSBB, she was doing her doctorate in Vaishnavism when I was in my 8th or 9th grade. And at that point she was probably over 70. So she lived by example, and that for me is even tougher as an educationist. And both her grandchildren, both PSBB and Bharat Kalachar, are now pioneer organizations, and I feel grateful that I have been part of both. And as time passes, I think we will only keep celebrating her life more and more. Also, the way she conceptualized PSBB is how to develop the all-round abilities of any student, and she did it in such a way that it prepares every student to meet the challenges of wherever they go. Along the Nariya, even through Bharat Kalachar, she brought so many different personalities to for speeches, for various programs. So because of this exposure, we as students gained a lot, and in that way she has given education itself a new perspective of how at that young age
how the young minds can be tuned so that they understand the heritage, they understand the culture, and hence it prepares them in a very different way to meet the world.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I'm Sudharma Vaidyanathan and I'm a very proud PSBB alumni. Dr. Mrs. YGP, or YGP ma'am as we fondly call her, has been such an important part of my life. From when I was 2, she's been such an integral part in shaping my education and in shaping my career as a Bharatanatyam dancer. She's been very supportive, and just to say a few things that has been very special to me is one, she used to love dressing up, as all of you know, and so do I. So every time she sees me wear something new, or like even a simple bangle, she would be like, where did you buy it from? And then immediately the next day we'll have to go shop like a bunch of things for her and give it to her. And the very next day she would wear the saris with a stitched blouse with matching jewelry and everything, and show us and be like, did you see, this is what you gave me and I'm wearing it. And she used to be so happy with those small things that she loved. And another incident that is very special to me was when I was in 8th grade, I fell sick and I wasn't able to attend school for a couple of months. So I don't know how many of the school deans would do this, but she came home to see me and she said, don't worry about your exams, just take care of yourself, and I'll make sure that you get good grades. And she said, I can even arrange for you writing exams at home. I can send a teacher. And we were like shocked to hear that, because I don't know how a dean could be so flexible in letting a student take up an exam from just their house. And she's been a part of my life. And even a few months before she passed away, for the December season, she asked me what I was going to perform, because I was going to perform at Bharat Kalachar. And she was like, why are you all doing the same old margams and everything? Why don't you take up something very challenging? And I was like, ma'am, why don't you suggest something? And she said, why don't you do a Varnam on Karnan? And I was just taken aback, because we had barely like a month to the season. And I said, okay, fine, because I couldn't say no to her. And I took it up, and it was such a beautiful idea that she gave, and it came out and it turned out to be such a wonderful production. I'm very, very, very proud and very happy to have been associated so closely with Dr. Mrs. YGP, and thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Venkatesh Srinivasan. I am an alumnus of SESHADRI Bala Bhavan, Kekanagar. It is the only school I studied in all my life. I joined in LKG in 1981 and graduated from the Commerce Group in 1995. It is my privilege and pleasure to share a few of my thoughts and memories of our dear Mrs. YGP. I cannot believe that it has been 1 year since she has passed on to a better place. But I think we will all remember her very fondly, and this is an occasion to do so. I think when I was in school, of course, we were in the Kekanagar campus, so Mrs. YGP would come to visit once in a while, and I remember that as kids we would be extremely scared, because she had the reputation of being a very strict disciplinarian. So we would all go into a hushed silence whenever we heard that she was on rounds or she was going to visit a class or section. So that was my memory. So we were all in awe of her, and we were, of course, she was extremely revered and she was an inspirational figure even then. Very interestingly, after Padma SESHADRI, I went on to Vivekananda to do my BCom, and then went on to IIM Bangalore to do an MBA, worked in a variety of firms, including firms like Pepsi and so on. And then somewhere in 2013, decided to go entrepreneurial, and I now run this company called Nexus Consulting. We are in the knowledge enhancement space. And through this company, it's been my privilege to renew my association with Padma SESHADRI over the last 7 years or so. I have one very interesting anecdote to share over there. One of the first quiz events that we did, we are predominantly a quizzing company while doing a lot of other content research and original content on the web and so on. One of the first quizzing assignments we got as an organization was to do the CBSE India Heritage Quiz, the South regional finals. So the city edition in Chennai and the regional finals were hosted by PSBB Kekanagar. And I remember Mrs. YGP was there as, to kick off the entire function. And as is the norm or the tradition, we had a group of girls singing a devotional song to start the proceedings of the day. And immediately after that song got over, Mrs. YGP stumped everyone by picking up the mic and saying, "You are all here for a quiz on Indian heritage. Let me ask you, do you all know who was the composer of the devotional hymn that you just heard?" And I think, that left quite a few people stumped. And I remember, I think she finally gave out the answer, or one of our faculty members answered saying that it was Dayanand Saraswati. So it showed that she was still very, very sharp, and she was very, very in tune with what was going on all the time. Of course, subsequently, I've had the privilege to meet her. She's been kind enough to attend some of the quiz events that we've hosted. We do a couple of annual events, one called Abbas with a renowned quizmaster, Dr. Naveen Jayakumar, and then the Spotlight sports quizzes, which I have been conducting. She has been there at least for 2 or 3 of those editions till in the last couple of years. I think age kind of finally overtook her enthusiasm and she couldn't make it, but she's always been a great source of inspiration. She's been very kind with her words and with her advice. And I have personally always felt that if I am whatever little I am today, and I would not call myself terribly accomplished, but if I am what I am today, it is due to the grounding and the basics we learned at Padma SESHADRI. It gave people like me a lot of confidence today to be able to even sit in front of you and record this video and send it out to all of you. So on that note, we will always be grateful to Mrs. YGP and to Padma SESHADRI, and now of course, to Sheila ma'am, YGR sir, and the whole host of respected faculty members who are taking this wonderful mission that Mrs. YGP started forward. So I wish all stakeholders of the Padma SESHADRI schools all the very best, and I'm sure continued success will come along with honest hard work and perseverance, which is what I think Mrs. YGP always taught us and stood for. Thank you very much.
Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. PSBB is a unique blend of the traditional and the modern, and we continue to rededicate a glorious past to a radiant future. Let's meet again tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the YouTube channel PSBB Vidya Shakti to hear more about the multiple facets of our beloved founder, Dr. Mrs. YGP. Signing off, Dhananjay Seshadri, PSBB Nungambakam. Thank you and good evening once again.
Vidya Shakti. Medha Shakti. Kalashaya Shakti.